Hey friends, so earlier today I had this great conversation with someone about fostering and adoption. And they were asking me a bunch of questions that honestly I get asked all the time. So I figured, you know what? Let's make a video about it. Let's just sit down and go through some of the most common questions people have about the foster system, adoption, the costs, the requirements, and just the reality of what it looks like. Because there are a lot of misconceptions out there, and the truth is, it's not a one size fits all kind of thing. One of the first questions that came up was about age. Like, how old do you have to be to foster or adopt? Most people don't realize it's not the same everywhere. Generally, the minimum is 21 years old. Now, some agencies put a maximum, like you can't be older than 45. Hell, I'm close to that, right? Others say age doesn't matter at all, as long as your physical health is good and you have a plan in place for your kids if something happens to you. Well, and honestly, I think that's something every parent should do, not just foster or adoptive parents. Life happens. None of us are guaranteed tomorrow. So if something were to happen to you, who steps in for your kids? That's not just an agency requirement, that's just smart, loving parenting. Another big one is cost. People hear horror stories about adoption being outrageously expensive, and sometimes it is. If you go through private adoption, you're talking anywhere from like 20 to 50,000, or hell, even more for just one child. And even if you're adopting siblings together, it's double that, right? And for a lot of families, that's just not realistic. But here's the difference. If you foster to adopt through the state or through a foster agency, the costs look completely different. Instead of paying out of pocket, many times you don't pay anything at all. In fact, you may actually receive a stipend to help cover the costs of raising that child. Some people compare it to child support. And in some cases, bio parents are ordered to pay child support to the state, and then that gets passed along to the foster family. When we adopted, our agency didn't charge us anything, and the state actually helped cover the lawyer fees. The only out-of-pocket expense that we had was for new birth certificates with our kids' adopted names. About, I'd say $30 each. Later on, if you change social security numbers, there's a small fee for that too. But when it's all said and done, I mean, when we adopted our 3 kids for under 300, oh yeah, that's cool, buddy. 300. Now, 3 kids, that's mind-blowing compared to private adoption. Now, people always ask, do you have to take whatever kid they send you? And the answer is absolutely not. You can be very specific. You can say, we only want infants, or we're open to teenagers only, or we'd like sibling groups. You can even say, we only want boys, or we only want girls. It's all about your family and how prepared you are to handle whatever type of kid you choose. And here's the piece of advice I'll give everyone. Always, always, always ask for the full bio of the child and their family. And if possible, a psychological evaluation of that child if that child is old enough. Now, that's something we learned the hard way. We had a foster daughter who come to us with severe trauma and behaviors we were not equipped to handle. And as much as it broke our hearts, we had to give notice and say we couldn't keep her in our home. That was one of the hardest decisions we've ever made, but it taught us a lesson. You can't just take a placement without asking the right questions, because if you're not equipped, it's not fair for the child, and it's not fair for you or your family. We actually fostered and later adopted 2 autistic kids that came to us straight from the NICU. At the time, nobody knew they'd be medical kids. That's the reality. Whether you're a bio parent or an adoptive parent, you don't always know what's ahead. But you do have the ability to say, we only want basic level kids, or the opposite. Maybe you feel called to take on medical or high needs kids. That's your choice. The key is being honest about what your family can handle, because anything is possible, and you want to make sure you're equipped to give that child the care that they need. And the toughest question of all, what happens if you're fostering to adopt and then that bio parent does what they need to do and the child goes back home? Let me tell you, that is one of the most heartbreaking things you will ever go through. It's happened to us a couple of times, and it does not get easier. Sometimes you're lucky and you get to stay connected with that child. We still get some updates from one of our kids every once in a while, and that, I'll be honest with you, that does feel really amazing. And it's kind of sad at the same time, but mostly amazing. And then there's other times where you don't hear anything and you just have to trust that the love and stability you gave them during the time that they were with you made a difference. Fostering means you have to love fully, knowing you might not get to keep them. And that's the risk. But it's also the beauty, because because for however long they are with you, you get to be the safe place. You get to be the stability, that love, that home, and honestly, it's worth it. So yeah, there are a lot of questions about fostering and adoption. Age requirements, costs, being choosy about what placements, the level of care, right? The heartbreak of reunification, and then the joy of adoption. And every family's journey looks a little different. My biggest advice, be upfront with your agency, be transparent about what you can handle, and always ask for honesty in return. Because when it works out, when a child gets to stay, when you get to adopt them, it is one of the most beautiful, rewarding experiences you will ever have. And even when it doesn't work out the way you hoped, well, you can take comfort in knowing you gave a child love, safety, and stability in a time that they needed it most. So if you've been thinking about fostering or adopting, drop your questions in the comments. Let's keep the conversation going, because more people understand the process, the more the kids out there that will have a chance, and the more that they will find a home that they deserve. This is Rad Foster Dad, and I'm out.